Chain Drug Review and Mass Market Retailers Video Forum. Brought to you by the Emerson Group.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Wolt, Editor-in-Chief of Chain Drug Review and Mass Market Retailers. Welcome to our video forum. Today, we're thrilled to welcome back Mike Wysong, CEO of CARE Pharmacies and the current chairman of the National Association of Chain Drugstores. Mike, always great to see you.
Hey, Jeff, it's great to see you again. Thanks for having me today.
It's my pleasure. I think the last time we talked on video anyway, you were just coming in as the chairman of NACDS. Maybe you could begin by just telling us what the experience has taught you, both, I guess, about the association and the industry.
It's hard to believe it's been 10 months since the last time we talked. A lot has happened in that short period of time. I can tell you, for those folks that are tuning in today, I just want to thank you and let you know what an honor it was to be serving all of you in the capacity as chairman at NACDS. When I found out I was going to be the chairman, the first thing I thought of was the people that preceded me. My good friend Brian Nightingale, Colleen Lindholtz, and Rick Keys. And I wanted to try to build off of the work that they had done and to really kind of honor the time that they had in the same position. But I wanted to try to put my own, fingerprints on that. And so I talk a lot about showing up. And so I wanted to make sure that I was very active in my engagement as the chairman at NACDS. I also wanted to make sure there was some of the new models of care coming in that I was able to kind of begin some of the collaboration with some of the other shareholders within our association. And I thought that was important. And then I wanted to just, on the heels of 90 years of an association, begin to create the spirit of what the next 90 years was going to look like. So I got out and moved around, and I learned a lot on every single one of my visits, Jeff, and confirmed some of the things that I knew to be true. We're working in a pretty special industry. It's a very resilient industry. I was amazed at how many places I was able to get to and how many people were really receptive to my visits. And one of the things I learned was there was really an interdependence between the patients and the providers and the communities and the retailers which they resided. And it was really quite a gift to the spirit to see that. The other thing that I learned is that our association has a very strong identity and is really grounded in the responsibility to represent its members within the association. And there's a faithfulness from the bottom of the association to the top about trying to make sure that it carries out the initiatives that it thinks are important in terms of moving forward a lot of these priorities on behalf of the member companies and the companies that are participants and parties to the association. One of the other things I really learned in my travels is that we're in a moment of uncertainty. The models are clearly transitioning from the traditional dispensing model to value-based care. The new model hasn't arrived yet. And while there is that tendency to be uncertain about it, there was a degree of hope and a degree of excitement about the fact that even though it's a moment of uncertainty, it is a moment of great opportunity. And so I'm excited to be the first chairman in the next 90 years and hopeful that the next 90 will be as good as the last 90.
Mike, can you tell us some of the groups that you approached who might be new audiences to NACDS and what kind of reception you got when you delivered this message?
So when I found out I was going to be chair, I laid out a pretty aggressive plan. I wanted to try to get to as many folks as I could. I often talk about showing up, and I thought the best way to demonstrate my commitment to the role was to get out and visit with as many folks as I could. I've visited almost 20 states and 30 cities over the course of the last 10 months and moving around. I visited with consumer product groups, manufacturers, wholesalers, sister chains, many of the other associations, many people within our Congress and the Senate. In fact, I was with the governors from many of the states last week in DC. And just, people that are interested in potentially being affiliated with the association. And I have to tell you, it's been great. They were all open and warm and receptive. The way they've treated me and with open arms has been, really encouraging me to try to get out to see more people. And like I said, we're in the middle of these changes, but there seems to be a real interest in coming together and collaborating in new and creative ways, given how dynamic the new models are likely going to be.
How important will that broad coalition be in trying to advance the industry's agenda?
Yeah, it's going to be critical. I mean, you look at the new models, they're not going to be less complex, they're going to be more complex. When you look at, the emerging technologies and the innovation and the importance of presiding over the patient provider relationship and how really intertwined and interdependent everything is. I tell people all the time, I tell my kids this too, anything that you're going to do is likely going to be done in groups of people. And so when you bring those groups of people together, they all have different gifts to contribute. And so when you have a trusting and objective, foundation of which you're going to work together in good faith, that usually results in an opportunity and the next model of what things are going to be. So it's been great. People ask me often, do I have, any regrets? And I don't. I tried to do everything I could here in the short period of time that I was elected to serve.
PBM reform is probably the most pressing issue at the moment. I think you would agree. How optimistic are you that we're going to get legislators or regulators to move in the near term?
Yeah, we talked about this 10 months ago. I think my answer to you the last time was a pragmatic optimism. I've spent a lot of time at NACDS with the local state teams and the federal team. We've had success at the state level, which I think is really important in terms of being able to drive that up from a bottom-up approach and obviously across all the branches of government. 100 PBM focused bills, I think, is indicative of a desire to see that change. I talked about, you know, regret. I would have certainly liked to have seen that happen faster than it has. And there is an awareness and really just a reality that sometimes things don't move as quickly as you'd like them to move, especially given some of the challenges that we're experiencing today within the halls of Congress and in the Senate. But I can tell you, NACDS has done everything that they can in terms of the lobbying and legislating, having an all hands on deck approach. You saw that with some of the commercials and letters that have been sent out about the necessity for reform now at both Medicare and the Medicaid level. So I think we've done everything we can at this point. And my hope is that my people that will follow me, Kevin and Rick, are in a better position than I was here from some of the work that we've done here over the last 10 months, which will be 12 months by the time we get to April.
How grave is the situation? You probably saw NCPA's announcement yesterday that as many as a third of their membership could go under this year. And you're also involved with independent drugstores. How serious is the problem if there is no relief on the PBM front?
Well, I think the problem is real. I think you can see that, and I've seen that in my visits. There's a heightened awareness and sensitivity about the economic challenges that providers in the community pharmacy space are facing. We're one of those providers that kind of crosses between independent and chain pharmacy. And like I said, I mean, I don't think that you can deny that that pain is real. I think that even with that, there's opportunities in the short term here to find ways to collaborate and to take the uniquenesses that we have as providers and continue to find ways to serve our customers as these new models are ushered in. They're right around the corner and you can feel it. So the real issue is what do you do in the short term here to get through this from a DIR and reimbursement perspective so that as this thing continues to take hold, the strengths that we have providers come full circle and are on stage for everybody to see.
Access to expanded range of pharmacy services is something that you and I believe would be good for healthcare in America. What promise do you see there, and what has to be done to make that a reality?
So again, as you look at where the models are today and where they're likely going to go, it's going to be an expansion of pharmacy-based services. You look at point of care testing. You look at some of these services that extend past dispensing at the pharmacy counter. Pharmacy's best positioned to do all of those things. And I could tell you, as I was out talking to kind of the next face of pharmacy, some of the pharmacy schools and some of the pharmacy associations that are bringing in the next care providers, there was really a focus in on trying to build that piece of it out. I am optimistic that you will see that. I think we learned a lot of that from COVID. I don't think anybody's best positioned to take on those types of patients, especially in areas of high need or underserved communities. So I think there is a sense of optimism that that will all be part of these new models, and I think play into the strength of pharmacy in general. So I feel really good about that piece of it.
And are payers receptive to that vision?
Yeah, I think payers are becoming receptive to that because they understand the importance of, associated with that and kind of triaging these things before they become, real issues of which we're treating. So again, I think you're in the middle of these models transitioning to these high touch value based models. We're just not there yet.
Mhm. Is there any prediction as to how long the transition will take?
Well, I know you know this. It takes forever to get anything through the halls of Congress. So I think it really ends up being a rally cry for our associations and the other associations to come together at this pivotal moment to continue to work collectively in the service of the stores and the care providers that are taking care of all these patients in the communities in which they're located. So if I had one
Mhm.
thing to say to the folks that are listening to this, now is the time to make sure that we're all aligned on where we're going and what needs to be done to get there, and that's making sure that the stories that you have as individual providers are being told to the people that need to hear them.
And Mike, coming up in March, you're going to have RX Impact Day. Can you talk a little bit about that and what you hope to accomplish?
Yeah, again, I think I had the good fortune of running into Walter Isaacson when I was down in Phoenix, and one of the things I learned from Walter is that you have to tell your story. There's not a better place to tell your story than to the politicians who have been elected to represent the constituents in the communities in which they're representing. So I think RX Impact is a great opportunity for care providers like CARE Pharmacies and the people that are at NACDS to talk about the challenges that they're being faced with and the patients in which they're being tasked to serve. So again, I think we're at a moment now where we need to stand with one voice, and we need to stand and tell the story so that the people that are going to make these laws and changes to the laws hear what's happening and the impact that they're having.
Food is medicine is another opportunity for pharmacies broadly. I mean, you can see clearly how it would fit in with some of the supermarket members or Walmart that have food in the stores. How do you see the pharmacist uh, fitting into that broader scheme?
Well, I think, the pharmacies that are located within grocery stores, obviously there's a symbiotic relationship there. That aside, I think when you look at value-based care, food as medicine will really be the backbone of that. I think there is a growing awareness, and obviously the data will prove this out, that a lot of these illnesses that pharmacies and pharmacists are treating are diet related. When you look at the costs that are associated with that, they're unsustainable over the long course of time. And so as you look at, again, kind of extending out areas of opportunity to head these issues off before they begin, food as medicine, I think is really going to be the backbone of all of that and the backbone of what the new value-based models will look like. And I could tell you, because I went out, I spoke up in Boston at Tufts University, there is a willingness and a hunger for pharmacy to really take a leadership position in that. And I was very optimistic and encouraged when I left there.
We touched on this before we started recording. Um, United Healthcare, of course, has had a breach of their technology systems, and it's reverberated throughout pharmacy and through all of healthcare. Um, what does that tell us?
Well, I talk about my trip up to SAP as part of the Retail Advisory Board meeting. And one of the things that I learned, I ran into an old classmate of mine while I was up there, and we were talking about honor, courage, and service, and the importance of those things. And we were quickly reminded that those things are now no longer enough, that you really have to overlay innovation on top of those things to make it live and breathe. We clearly live in a time where things are connected and things are happening at hyper speed. I think the current situation, though, does underscore how fragile that system can be. And yes, it's high speed, but when it stops working, it really does put more fundamental things into the spotlight, right? So the contingency planning, making sure that all of that is in a place where it's safeguarded, and you're thinking about all the possibilities that come with that. I think those are things that we'll have to continue to contemplate and think about it more than a casual level as we continue to make these pivots into these high touch models that are going to be driven by innovation.
Mike, you and I both have seen a number of stories in the press of late about problems related to pharmacy, pharmacist burnout, you know, stores closing, et cetera. How would you characterize the state of the industry at this point?
Yeah, I think we talked about some of those things when you look at the PBM reform, some of the DIR stuff, just the challenges. I think there are systemically a number of things coming together at this particular moment in time that are driving that and exacerbating that. One of the things, and again, I think you could look at that across multiple industries as well. My sense of that is that there are multiple things that are happening at this particular moment in time, and one of the things that we don't talk about are all the things that are going well and all the things that are happening. Through my trips and travels, I met with hundreds of pharmacies and providers and thanked them personally for the service and the things that they're doing, and I don't think that they get enough credit for a lot of that. My sense of it is a lot of these key initiatives through reform, the lobbying and legislating, looking at an expansion of health and wellness, a lot of those things as they continue to improve and advance, I think will have a really impactful, will impact some of these other issues that we're faced today that are driving some of the uncertainty in our industry.
Couple of final questions. Early on in our conversation, you said that you're trying to set the stage for the next 90 years of NACDS. Could you be a little more specific about what you've been working on?
Yeah, so I think you're just looking at an association that is aware that as these models continue to advance, you're likely going to have more people involved. And so I wanted to make sure that not only did I deliver a message of gratitude, but it was a message of collaboration and openness to explore what could be. So I think, if you look, we have the benefit of looking retrospectively at what happened in 1933 when you had a bunch of people come together to work in the service of something bigger than themselves. And what I'm trying to do here through my short, chairmanship is to open the doors up for the next people that will come in of what these new models will likely look like and who may or may not be a part of them. And I think you're going to have more people working together moving forward than we do today.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about CARE Pharmacies. You've had a dynamic growth over the past, half a dozen years. What's going on there? And tell us a little bit about the model itself, if you would.
Yeah, it's been an honor. This will be my 13th year as the CEO of CARE Pharmacies, and a lot of the things that I tried to bring to my chairmanship are underpinnings of the things that I think are what make CARE special. CARE in and of itself is an association of community pharmacies that have come together. They're all high touch care providers with a real focus in on trying to make sure that they take care of their customers. They're just doing that in unique ways. I think some of the magic for CARE has been its operating structure, and we've attempted to take the best of the intimacy of care and then to try to drive continuity across that. And I think when you look at where we are and where we're likely going to be moving here in a short period of time, I think the system is going to reward proactive providers that can provide that intimacy of care around a relationship that I think is going to be hard to um, innovate out of the process. I think there will always be the intimacy of that interaction between a pharmacist and a patient, and the innovation needs to be layered in on top of that to make that even more intimate.
You've done great work at CARE, and I think I speak for the industry when I say your service as NACDS chairman has been tremendously valuable to everybody.
I
So
appreciate the
thank
feedback
you.
and the compliment. It's been an honor to serve in this capacity.